So much difference in height. Well, when they sit here, they look the same height, right?
She's got a chair up on her.
Yeah.
You take over.
Yeah.
She's in.
Her top of her head is up Jeff's shoulder.
We should put her in between Joe and them.
Yeah, booster seat, that would do it.
You still get
Okay,
yellow
Jack.
pages like the big ones?
Just make me sit, just make me sit the floor, I guess.
Welcome to our regular meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically for Tuesday, April 21st. The opening of our meeting, I have a few announcements. Council and staff would like to thank those who attended the Roads Open House last night at Rosedale Hall. The survey will remain open until May 5th, and we would encourage ratepayers to provide their feedback. The survey link and supporting documents can be found on the township's website and Facebook page. If you would prefer a paper copy of the survey, please reach out to the township office. There is one space remaining for the comedy show at the Grand Theatre in Kingston on Thursday, May 7th. The cost is $40 per person. Contact the township office for more information. The 2026 municipal election nomination period begins on May 1st. While not required, those interested in filing their nomination papers are encouraged to contact the clerk to make an appointment. Information will be updated regularly on the township's website through the nomination period. Our land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. I'll ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas that the regular meeting of council agenda dated April 21st, 2026 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? Is carried. Disclosure of interest now at any point in time during our meeting. Moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that the minutes from the regular meeting of council dated April 7th, 2026 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? And that's carried. We have any business arising from our previous minute? No. Okay. So our delegations tonight, our first one is Mary Kate Laffin from our Merrickville Public Library, please.
Yes, I am. My last minute I dash it. Sorry, it was, we've been hosting the before and after daycare, aftercare for the daycare while it's been flooded. And this was of course the day that when parents came late. So it's like, oh. But we're here in time, so it's all good. So I just want to present our annual report for 2025. During this year, or last year, I guess, the library continued to grow as an active community hub. We saw more people coming to the library, more program participation, and more use of our spaces and technology. And we also saw a lot of collaboration. We're working with our partners to offer more programs and learning opportunities for the community and to help our partners deliver their own programs. And it all builds on the momentum of 2024, and it lines up with our new strategic plan, which we'll do about in the fall. The big picture is the library is staying relevant and responsive and closely connected to what our community needs. So let's see what's new. That was basically what was on the first page. So we skip over to page 2. And if you want to see our strategic plan, there's a QR code on there that you can link to. And so our new programs, were literacy related. We expanded those. The Lions Club Reading Den, which supports literacy, is sort of a remedial program during the summer, which went very well. We've started our literacy center with some literacy kits for parents to take home to help with phonics and that kind of thing. Our Rideau Eco Literacy program for school-age kids during the summer was workshops about the Rideau ecosystem, a lot of science and maker activities. It was educational and fun, and it was a partnership with the Rideau Roundtable and 5 other libraries. So that one went very well. We had some new community-focused programs. We started a team program called Chill and Chat. And we also started the repair cafes to do, which scoots onto the next page. Repair cafes. In partnership with Sustainable Miracle Wolford, and people can bring in things to get them fixed by are still volunteers. We also have a bike day. We have one coming up May 9th. Don't forget, if you want to get it road ready for spring, people will do that for you, and it's all free. Let's see, we also have started a craft tool library where you can borrow things like cake pans or things related to fabric crafts like embroidery hoops, things like that. And use them and bring them back, and we're sort of expanding that. It's in partnership with a local crafter, and we did some special programs like Pride Day in partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, a puzzle race in partnership with Hughes and the puzzle company in the Occurrence in Miracle, and a Friends and Foes party, a Harry Potter parties with the Lions Club, and the Hidden People contest with local artists. There were little gnomes all through the trails, and people had to count them. That was super popular. Anyway, on to the next page is just some of our regular programming. Those are our new things, but we still have our seed library. Just this past Saturday, we had our Seedy Saturday this year, which beautiful weather, and then this. We got in the window. Also our adult learning and engagement programs off the shelf, Fitness for Your Aging Brain, which is a seniors program. The mobile plus smartphone courses, which is also for seniors to help them with technology, phones, guided meditation, which is popular with all ages, book clubs, and of course our seed library and all that. There's a little list there of many of our partners, community partners, and underneath we have our program participation. We had quite a lot of adult programs and still a lot of kids programs and a lot of class visits, so there was an increase there. And we also, of course, have our meeting room, which has been getting a lot of use by community groups who are having meetings there, but also clubs and things who are using the space for get-together. So that's been very busy. If we skip on to the next page, focus more on our kids programs here. We continue to do our story time every Friday, our summer reading club, which has crafts and activities and gets kids to read twin prizes, which is always popular. We started our mini music makers program, which is a music program for sort of preschoolers that we do with local music teacher Anya Perry at Maple Music Studios. Our Echo Champions contest, which is continuing, we're starting it up again this year, which is to raise education about species at risk in the area. So basically, we have the education and literacy ones. We have edutainment, March breaks, and things where kids can find things that are maybe a little bit educational, mostly fun. Our March break program there with painting. And then our family fun activities. We hosted a couple of early on programs, early year center, and we have our Saturday play days and other things to get people in. We also take the library out of the building to work with the community. We, in 2025, we increased our class visits to Montague School. The principal invited us to come more often, so we said yes. And we continue our visits to the daycare and the play group, and we have some classes coming to the library as well, and some schools. And we continue to work with the Trail Society on the Story Trail, and we participate in community events. And we'll scoot on to the next page, which is some of our popular services. Our new books, we added over 1,000 new books and these in 2025. And we also have our e-resources, which are particularly good if you're living far away from Miracle. The e-books, audiobooks, e-magazines, and then can be film streaming that you can, those are sort of indie films and foreign films and award-winning films, sort of not the mainstream stuff, but, and something else. Oh yes, this is really more of a 2025 thing, but we just started online classes that you can take for free. Some of them are sort of business or career related, but some of them are just for fun, like cake decorating, massage therapy, feng shui, things like that. So that's been a great new resource that we're excited about. And we want to thank our friends of the library who they are sponsoring our e-resources, all of those things I just mentioned there, and our DVD pool and some of our programs and our kind of things. They donated $6,500 last year. And we want to thank our volunteers who do a lot around the library so that we can manage with the staff that we have, and our Mad Gardeners who make the outside look pretty. And with special thank yous on to the next page to the Legion, who donated money for our children's programs. Also, Seniors Dance Club donated some money. And we want to recognize our contribution from the province, which pays for our operating grants, our internet funding, and our interlibrary loan postage. Our interlibrary loans were doing increased in last year. And let's see, yes, we also want to recognize the Lions Club, who we're doing a lot of partnering with and sponsoring a lot of things. So that's great. We're looking forward to more of that next year. And if I can scoot ahead to page 8 just for a second, just the financial things. As you can see where the money comes from and where it goes. Most of it is municipal. Miracle Wolford is covering, you can see mostly are basically salaries and some things like audit, insurance, and water sampling. They also at the bottom list some of the in-kind contributions, financial, accounting, bookkeeping, and taking care of snow and grass. And then they also do building names. So we want to appreciate that. But the rest of our operating expenses, the heat, the electricity, the phone, supplies, and of course the books, are funded largely through Montague, the money we get from the province, from funding, from donations, and from Friends of the Library, as I mentioned. And we have over the past few years received some large donations that we've been able to put into an endowment fund, and now it's sort of paying an income, and we're using that money as well to supplement our operating expenses and also to pay for sort of unusual expenses, like if we have to replace our computers or, do some work on building, if something needs to be painted or replaced or something. Otherwise, we would have no money for that. So we've been using that so that we don't have to come back to council and ask for money for those kinds of things. And it also provides us with a reserve for future projects. The library's been around for almost 170 years. So we have to think long-term and have a long game. So, and if we can go back to page 7. There we go. I just wanted to talk about the library board. They're delighted that in 2025 they completed the strategic plan and started to implement it. It's the final year of the board's term. This year we're focusing on our relationship with Montague. And we're gratified to see that the VOLT, which is the Valuing Ontario Libraries Toolkit, we had that done for us, and it's shows a strong social return on investment, generating $11.50 of community value for each dollar spent. So we're excited about that. I've also included some comments from some of our happy users, just to kind of show the positive feedback that we've been receiving. And of course, we'd like to finish up by thanking our municipalities. As we saw from our pie chart, most of our funding comes from municipalities. And so we'd like to thank you for your continued support, not just the funding, but also all of the positive feedback that we get from them. So we really appreciate that. We're glad that you're happy with our services. And just so our takeaway is that 2025 was a year of growth, collaboration, strong community impact. We expanded our learning opportunities, strengthened our partnerships, supported our families and schools, and our services continue to be valued. We're working on keeping them relevant. It's all building into our new strategic plan. And we feel like we're in a good position to move forward. And our goal is the same. We're delivering a valued, cost-effective community service on behalf of the municipality to support municipal goals and make Montague and Miracle Wolford great places to live. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I hope I'm under my time. We got talking.
It was well done.
Any questions?
All right. Okay, yeah. All right. Well, I missed it any time. Well, we had a good year. We like to talk about it. Thank you.
So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Deputy Reeve Carroll that the presentation by Mary Kate Laffin, CEO for the Marrickville Public Library regarding the Marrickville Public Library's 2025 annual report be accepted as information. All in favor? That's carried. And the second delegation is Michael and Shannon Reed, or Ryan, sorry, Ryan.
Good evening. I guess I should start with last year when we purchased we entered an agreement from this office that we would remove the building, or I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. Okay. So agreed that we would remove the building, or by June 30th we would have another plan to repurpose it or whatever. So in the meantime, we've gutted the building, prepared it for demolition, It's right down to the studs. There's no wiring, nothing. But sort of looking at the building, the structure, it was kind of obvious that we shouldn't waste it. I mean, it's fairly new. It's very well constructed. After we tore it apart, we see that it could be repurposed. So I came back to the office, I think it was in January, spoke to folks in the office next door and, you know, explored my options. What could I do to save this building, type use it, you know, for something and as well, we've decided that we want to build a house. So, with all that, basically our only option was to build, a foundation to accommodate this structure. And the foundation required, you know, a certain standard. And so I took that information, went home, we you know, crunched numbers, contractors, this and that. And it basically, for the size of the building and for the cost, it really doesn't make sense. It's not cost effective. So we sort of thought, well, you know, there's really not much we can, you know, make out of this building with, you know, spending that kind of money. This didn't make sense. So, so now I'm asking if we could get an extension. We plan on building next year. We tried to get it going this year. However, you know, with the planner, the design, we haven't even, you know, we haven't even done test holes yet or anything like that. And so he's basically said we couldn't start until the spring 2027. So that leaves us with you know, the building has to be removed by September, or something done with it by June 30th. The plan has to be put in place. So it appears that without an extension, it'll have to be torn down. And it just like I stated in my request, that doesn't make sense to tear down a building. It's you know, throw it in the landfill when it can be easily repurposed and used. So I'm requesting a 1 year, you know, extension on the agreed extension from last fall, so that we can get a development permit next spring, build our home, and then use this building as a storage building garage without the sophisticated foundation that's actually required if, you know, without the actual home being built. And so I understand I can't use it as a garage, build it first and then my home. I have to build the home first. Unless I can build the garage first and then the home, I'm left with just a request for an extension.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Our staff.
Yeah,
Move
staff
back.
will bring back, but yeah.
Okay.
So for now, moved by Councillor Crabtree and second by Councillor Johnson, the presentation by Michael Ryan requesting demolition permit extension for 618 Brooklyn Tetlock Road be accepted as information. All in favor? Carry, thank you. And then we have a report of our municipal officers. Clerk, planning manager, Krista Coulter, please.
Thank you, Chair. Excuse me. Okay, so terms of reference for the compliance audit committee were drafted by the county clerks in preparation for the election, and each were approved by their respective municipal councils. Member applications were requested and the clerks have received 3. So the 3 people's names are noted in the recommendation attached to this report. Each appointee has previously been on a compliance audit committee, some for multiple elections, and in various jurisdictions, some municipal, some school board. 2 of the applicants are accountants and 1 is a lawyer. County clerks have been speaking recently and discussed the fact that the next delegation of authority bylaw update that staff bring to council, or at least at a minimum prior to the next election, that we would be proposing to include approving the terms of reference and the appointment of committee members, for the audit committee as being tasks delegated to the clerk. Because under section 12 of the Municipal Elections Act, essentially the clerk is responsible for conducting the election and for creating any forms or processes necessary for that purpose. So the report that you have before you this evening is recommending essentially the approval of the three appointees that the county clerks deem appropriate.
I'll open it up for any questions. No? So moved by Deputy Brief Carroll and seconded by Councillor Vance that David Nusko, Jason Juan, and Rhonda Whitmarsh be appointed to the Joint Lanark County Compliance Audit Committee for the term November 15th, 2026 to November 14th, 2030, to deal with applications from the 2026 municipal election and any by-elections during the next council term. All in favor? Next reports are clerk planning manager, Kristen Cote as well.
Okay, so this report is with respect to the municipal election accessibility plan. So in ensuring that every individual has an equal opportunity to participate in a municipal election is very important. IntelliVote, who is looking after our upcoming election, has recently distributed a template for use by municipalities who either didn't have a plan or wish to revise theirs. Staff here reviewed the one that we used for the 2022 election. It was great as well. But really liked the template that IntelliVote provided. So that document was reviewed and it was revised to reflect our specific voting method, because there are some municipalities who are also using paper ballots, as well as our voting period. And it should be noted that pursuant to the Municipal Elections Act, a report will be brought to council within 90 days of voting day, to highlight any barriers that may have been identified during the election period. So this report is asking council for their approval of the election accessibility plan.
Any questions? No. So moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Crabtree that council approve the attached 2026 municipal election accessibility plan. All in favor? And that's carried. Next is our municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, please.
Thank you, council. This is in relation to the development charges study, background study. So some of you will recall, in March of 2022, the township passed and established a current up-to-date development charges study, which then reflects into the bylaw for the charges that are charged to each new home development. There's been a number of changes over the last couple of years by the provincial government. Some were implemented and then taken back out. But there's been a lot of discussion even on whether development charges will be moving forward. The treasurers in Lanark County, we have had discussions, and the county itself even is moving forward with a new development charge study this year. In the event that the province, if they make changes, that if they have some kind of an allocation, that we still have it, and we would be able to receive some funds. So previously, during the RFP process, there was two bidders. So it was JP2G Consultants and Watsons and Associates. JP2G Consultants no longer does the development charge study background. And as you'll see in my report, almost all the other municipalities in Lanark County are going with Watsons and Associates. They have exceptional feedback. They put on great training days for free, great follow-up feedback. You can call them for guidance, especially over the last couple of years when there's been so many changes. So the recommendation to council is to move forward with our study, because our current one expires in March of 2027. And to appoint Watsons and Associates to the as the consultants. This would start early May. There is substantial staff time that goes into these types of things, of gathering information, sitting down, discussing future plans if development occurred, similar to last evening when we spoke about potentially hard surfacing roads. That is a growth related investment. So those types of things. The anticipation is best case scenario will be back to you or back to the new council in January or February of 2027. We did budget $30,000 in the 2026 budget, which 10,000 is budgeted from development charge reserves. We may have a little bit more there to use from that, and then the balance would just be the contingency reserve if we don't have surplus from 2026. Anyway.
So you're saying the Ontario government's moving to eliminate development charges?
So, Chair, through you, there's been a lot of discussion around development charges, more so Toronto, big city center. Like City of Ottawa, theirs is, I think it's $50,000 or $60,000 per house, where ours is $4,700. So them being our neighbor is a drastic difference. There's been a lot of talk around development charges and whether it is keeping people from building, not keeping people from building, removing it just off certain builds. It's no longer on ARU, so additional residential units and things like that. So we're not really sure. Everyone has moved forward though with doing it, because even if they pull, more than likely there'll be some kind of a funding model for a few years to help compensate the difference and the balance. Because a lot of us small municipalities really do rely on those funds for the growth that occurs.
So we really don't have any choice but to move forward because we're in a state of flux. So you can't not do it. Okay. No, that's
Well,
good.
It's entirely up to council, but just at the county level, they're also in the same position as us this year and they're moving forward. The nice thing about the development charges, one of the changes that was made was previously you could only do over 5 years, now you can do 10. So it eliminates how often you have to complete the project. And just for a little council, so Drummond North Elmsley completed theirs last year, or the year before, and they were about 35,000, so we're a little bit underneath what they received for pricing. So we think it's fair and competitive based on what others are receiving.
Thank you.
I'm saying it makes sense to continue with it, because exactly what I was saying. We don't know what's gonna happen. We could probably see like maybe cuts first coming to the bigger guys than the little guys. So it's if it does happen, it makes sense just to keep going. So it's and it is a revenue source that we need totally. And I think that's a big one. Once again, nailing it down for our residents too, as well, understanding that money that's coming in. Once again, if we're not getting that revenue, we need to go to our provincial partner and say, hey, then where's that money going to come from too as well? So anyways, got to continue moving forward.
So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll that the council waives section 3.1B of the township's procurement policy to single source the development charges background study and bylaw to Watson and Associates Economists Limited in the amount of $30,000 plus HST. So $30,528 inclusive of HST. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So next to our reports of committee, so moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council approve the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting dated April 7th, 2026, and the recommendations contained within. All in favor? Or you didn't have a question first, right? No, okay, all in favor, sorry. Great, thank you. And so we have no petitions, we will move on to bylaws. So moved by Deputy Reid Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas that bylaw 4210-2026, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a development agreement with Ryan Jonathan McDonald, be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of April 2026. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that bylaw 4211-2026, being a bylaw to assume a portion of Fletcher Road into the township's road system, to be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of April 2026. All in favor? And that's carried. So moved by Councillor Abbas and seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll that bylaw 4212-2026, being a bylaw to appoint members to boards, committees, and other statutory positions, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of April 2026. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So we have no motion, notice of motion, and our first action item. First up for consideration is the letter from Michael Ryan. So we have information from staff.
Okay, so everyone knows the background on this property. We had a delegation from the previous owner with respect to building that was undertaken without permit in a location where it was not permitted to be. So Mr. Ryan, purchased this property from the previous owner. And in October of 2025, the township prepared a letter outlining the requirements that would be related to the development on this property. Which again, included a dwelling built without a permit and in non-compliance with zoning bylaw setbacks and the development agreement. So the letter that was prepared, essentially included 4 components. The first was, the inability to reside and occupy or utilize the structure for any purpose. The second was a requirement to have the demolition permit from the previous owner transferred to the new owner and pay the required fee of $100. The third was that there was permission to store any building materials or structural components from that building within the existing structure until no later than September 22nd of 2026, with the hopes that they could be repurposed. And the fourth component was to confirm the intent for that structure by June 30th, 2026, whether it was to be demolished, removed, or relocated. So in reviewing the 4 components that were included in that letter, which Mr. Bryan did acknowledge receiving by having signed it and returning a copy to our office. Staff don't have a record of having received the application to transfer the demolition permit or the required fee, so the request for an extension of a permit really doesn't work because there isn't a permit in place to extend. So while we appreciate that the owners are proposing to build a dwelling on the property, the existing structure would be considered to be an accessory structure, which is only permitted if there's a primary structure in place, or a building permit has been issued. And to permit an accessory structure use prior to a primary use would require a zoning amendment in staff's opinion.
Okay, so I'll open up to any questions. I'll go next.
So if it's okay, then. Okay, it's not being used as an accessory. And it just stays vacant until after the house is built, and then they were to use it after that fact. Would that then be, in staff's opinion, okay then? Like if we just not have it demolished, just let it sit there until they build the house next year and like allow that extension of not being demolished?
I'm not quite sure I understand.
So, because you're saying there's not an extension because there is no demolition permit right now, but there is an agreement that it was supposed to be taken down.
Correct.
Correct. So he's hoping right now just to basically keep it there.
Mhm.
So like leave it there, build the house next year, and then try to repurpose it, and it'll be an accessory building after that. But the problem is too as well, it's also like on like a property line too as well. So it's like they have to be moved. Because even if you did like a zoning, it couldn't stay there even if you left it on, like if you put it on a foundation, it was your secondary unit, right? Because it's literally in our or the township's spot, I guess, right? Does that open up still liability for us too? I guess those are a multifaceted question.
So regardless of what avenue council directs, the building cannot remain in the place that it currently is. So that's why the proposal would be to rezone it for to temporarily remain in place until such time as a primary use is permitted.
Okay, so what happens though if they don't build the house in 27? Are we right back to where we started from? Like, how does that agreement come in place? Because saying that it's an accessory building.
if they were to build something in 2027, they're still gonna have to move it or do something like that.
Correct.
So we could rezone to allow that. But if the house isn't built in 27, then what happens?
The building has to be moved regardless. It's just, you can't extend a permit that doesn't exist.
Well, and that's the question. So we have a demolition permit that was issued to a previous owner
Mhm.
that hasn't yet been transferred to our current owner.
Correct.
So we can't do an extension if we don't have it in the correct owner's name. Is that not correct?
So just to chime in there, so council has no ability to direct under the building code, so you can't
Mhm.
actually direct the CBO to give an extension on a permit anyways. So I just want to make that clear that you cannot direct under the building code. So I think that what person's trying to say is that there's a potential option to do a temporary zoning that would again have a timeline that in the event a home wasn't built in 2027, all of this would still be in play. So it's kind of like a temporary vehicle permit, right? That you can drive your vehicle for 7 days to get it to the shop to get a safety done on it. Kind of the same situation for that. So I think that what we're looking for tonight is that, well, there's no permit to extend and you can't actually direct the CBO. Council doesn't have that ability. It's a provincial legislation, unfortunately. Sorry, folks. So the other thing would be that you direct staff to discuss with the Ryans about a potential temporary zoning amendment and the costs associated, so that they can then make the decision on how they want.
So that was gonna be my question is so that's a temporary, so it wouldn't be something it has an end date and then it goes back. So like, and what would, like, when you do a zoning amendment like that, is that something that's going to be? Like, is there a lot of staff time and cost and going to committee adjustments and all that kind of stuff? Or is it something that's a little simpler because it's a temporary?
No, it's the same process as for any other zoning bylaw amendment, so same fee of $750 would apply. Same circulation to agencies and adjacent landowners.
So like the route really is to go that route, but there will be a cost to do that too as well, would be
And generally, once the application's been submitted, and deemed complete, we're looking at about a 60-day window, give or take.
finalize it.
So
Yep.
it'll be done after June 30th. Realistically speaking.
Yep. But I think having the application in place would like show good faith, so, yeah, so.
Yeah, so I guess that's the direction, go back to with the applicant, and if there's further, then we come back, yeah. Thank you.
So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson, that council deny Michael and Shannon Ryan's request for a demolition permit extension, as they did not transfer the permit into their names as per item 2 in the letter dated October 24th, 2025, and signed by Michael Ryan on October 28th, 2025. And that council directs staff to have discussions with Michael and Shannon Ryan about the potential for a temporary zoning amendment, the required process and known associated costs. And further, that if the temporary zoning amendment will not address these circumstances, then the dates noted in the signed letter dated October 24th, 2025, and signed by Michael Ryan on October 28th, 2025 remain in effect. All in favor? It's carried. So we have no unfinished business, so before we adjourn, questions about auditor. Online? So moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Abbas, that bylaw 4213-2026, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of April 21st, 2026, be read first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 21st day of April 2026. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that council adjourn the regular meeting of council of April 21st, 2026 at 6:39 p.m. until Tuesday, May 5th, 2026 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready, Trevor.
Ready to go?
Okay, go ahead.
Welcome to committee of the whole in person live stream electronically Tuesday, April the 21st, 2026. We'll open the meeting with land acknowledgement. The council and staff township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Again, we'll have adoption of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Bass, second by Reeve Jennings, that the committee of the whole agenda for April 21st, 2026 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? Carried. Disclose any public interest now or throughout the meeting. Do you have any delegations or deputations? See none. Next report of municipal officers, we'll start with Mr. Hayes.
That's me.
I was gonna say, I don't see him here in the crowd.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Hayes.
So in front of you this evening is Mr. Haynes's report. So I'm gonna add a little bit to this. So just a reminder for council prior to Ed coming on board. We did provide notice back to Beckwith in 2024 as per our road agreement. They had 2 years for capital works. So 2026 is the 2-year mark. So they have approved their 2026 budget. The Reeve was in attendance to confirm that they didn't remove McLaughlin from the budget. So they did approve their 50% of the McLaughlin road. They the 329,000, that would be their 50% of the actual tender amount. Because we'd already had the tender completed and back. So if you do recall, we did put out for tender early last year. Beckwith's timing of budgeting is a little different than ours. So we like to get our tenders out early to try and receive the best pricing from the contractors. Last year, the road went out as a surface treatment, a DST, a double surface. So the pricing was about 506,000 for a double surface with non-refundable HST. And this year we went out for asphalt for a couple of reasons, and I'll explain that to you as well. So the double surface treatment itself, just the surface, last year was almost $194,000 for the 2.6 kilometers of roadway. This year, the HL4 50 mil lift came in at about $279,000. That's taking into account a full 7-meter wide paving surface. There's a lot of our roads that we won't get that. So this number that's in front of you this evening of the 659 will likely be less, no different than last year at Ferguson Tetlock. That was under budget by about 60,000. So the DSTs, the double surface of the 194 versus the 279 for asphalt, it's about $85,000 difference. When you take into account the single surface that needs to be applied to that surface treatment in 3 to 5 years, it's about $35,000 per kilometer in today's cost. So that would be about 91,000. So we can actually place asphalt. When you look at that 3 to 5 year window, asphalt that's a superior product is cheaper than surface treatment when you put that single on. So obviously it's the better choice. It's the more long-term thinking approach. Coming from an asphalt company, from working there for over 7 years, surface treatment was our bread and butter because we knew we were coming back. Asphalt is more long-term. So it is the more preferred approach. And whenever you look at the actual long-term planning, it's actually cheaper than surface treatment. So we do recommend for council to approve the contract to Thomas Kavanaugh Construction for the McLaughlin Road for the 2.6 clicks. And that we provide, so we pay the entire amount and we bill back with the 50% costs, and they pay us similar to what we did on the other side of McLaughlin. And that if we require, we budgeted 650. If we require the additional funds, we've allowed for up to about 10,000 if surplus is unavailable from 2026. I'm not anticipating, unless we run into a problem, that we'll even be at the 659. So we will, a lot of time we're not able to get that 7-meter width, but the ditching and I can pull places.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
I was just saying, that's a great report. I think it's a great recommendation too as well, because obviously the pavement too as well is gonna last we can get 25, the amount of traffic on that road, we could probably get a lot of years out of that road, so. Great homework, great work by staff, to show that what the long-term, benefit would be for something like this, so. This is great.
Okay.
And it's great that we got Beckwith. We know, Reeve and I both talking with our counterparts over there too as well. And they were thrilled to be part of this project with us, so it's so thank you for that.
We appreciate the two of you strong arming them.
They're willing participants.
Willing participants, of course they will. So moved by Deputy Carroll, seconded by Councilor Crabtree. That the council enter the contract with Thomas Cavanaugh Construction Limited for the rehabilitation of Rockford Road. For a total cost of $659,664.82, including non-recoverable HST. And that council directs staff to bill Beckwith Township 50% of cost as per the shared road agreement. And further that, council approved the use of public work reserves up to $10,000 to fund the balance from the budget to actual if there is no 2026 surface available. All in favor? Very good. Thank you very much. We'll move on to Kurt, Planning Manager, Kirsten Cote.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so this report addresses the proposed revisions to the animal control bylaw. And I wanted to just start out by saying thank you to anyone and everyone who completed the survey and submitted feedback. The draft survey that's attached to this report demonstrates that council and staff want and value your input. You'll note that there are some further amendments to the draft bylaw that was presented to council in December, being proposed as a result of that feedback. So some of the key revisions to the December version of the bylaw that are being proposed include a refinement of certain definitions, inclusion of both metric and imperial measurements, recognition of the role of livestock guardian dogs, and inclusion of provisions and exemptions where appropriate related to these animals during the course of work. Removal of the livestock provisions, which we did have in another bylaw. This was sort of just a culmination of both bylaws together, but the proposal is to remove the livestock provisions completely and repeal the livestock bylaw. But this would result in people with complaints being directed to contact the OPP for resolution of any matters with respect to livestock at large or property damage as a result of livestock at large. There's also a proposal to remove the doubling of fees for dog tags and kennel licenses purchased after March the 31st. Some people deemed that to be a bit of a deterrent for applying for those licenses and or dog tags, thinking they'll just hold out and wait for the following year. So if council is satisfied with the proposed amendments, staff would bring this bylaw back to the meeting on May the 5th for passage. And a copy of the penalty schedule for this bylaw would be provided to the court. It has to be filed with them. But if council has any suggestions for amendments, staff are open to receive.
Have any questions, comments?
I guess my big question is, once again, I'm gonna say it from a responsible farmer side of things. I think we have a lot of responsible, most of our residents that farm are responsible farmers, but I want to make sure that and animals get out and things happen. And no farmer wants their animals to get out, and they do everything in their power to get their animals back when those things happen. But how do we make sure that our residents are still protected if someone's animals were to get out a number of times and like they just call in this case they just call the OPP every single time, and the OPP then does the OPP have more bite than our bylaw would be at that point? Is that sort of one of the reasons? Like where are we skating to, I guess, as far as that? What's better overall to go?
Well, we don't have the means of collecting the livestock, and often we get the complaints from members of the public that there are livestock at large, and by the time our bylaw enforcement officers come, the livestock are already back where they belong.
Yeah.
So just the distance, that doesn't make a lot of sense. We also don't have, again, someone to collect them. It's hard to put a cow in the back of a car. And where do you take it? We don't have any arrangements with any livestock pound currently, so the OPP would be the most appropriate avenue for people to contact.
And for that person that maybe their place got wrecked over and over again. So like once again, a cow gets out someone's yard, usually neighbors are pretty neighborly with each other, but if it happens over and over and over and over again, I would imagine. I get along with my neighbors very well, but I think if a cow went on their lawn every single week, they might get a little bit frustrated with me. So is it, do they just go civilly at that point, or is it, that's really where that?
I believe so.
That would go that route then, right? So it's a, okay.
And Chair, through you, just keeping in mind that in that, you also have to be willing to go to court as the witness, because you are the complainant. So because we've had this situation, so you as the complainant have to be willing to go to court, because otherwise they throw it.
Yeah.
So if you're going to call the cops and make the complaint and go through the process, you have to be willing to show up. Because we can't show up for you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's that whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think it's good. I just want to make sure like that's again, like, I like where we're going, but I think it's also good to make sure that we highlight those areas to make sure that we have a full, I think everybody's a full scope of it too as well. I think this has been a well thought and it's always going to be a work in progress as we know, as we work through it, but I think this is definitely, we've come a long way and I think it's definitely in the right direction. So good work for sure.
Well, I was just thinking that it's when it's repeat offenders, their sheep get out every day. Going with the OPP really is the only way to go forward, because I don't think we have the bite, like you said, to really do much of anything, and then it turns into civil, so it's the OPP is really, I think, the only way to go with this, as far as I can tell. But anyway, it's the repeat offenders that are the problem, not, every once in a while someone's cow gets out, that's not a big deal, but
It happens to farmers, the cows get,
Yeah.
and that's part
All
of
the
living in
time.
the country, that's part of, and that's 100%, and that happens, and our animals will get out sometimes.
They will find a way.
They will find a way, and we are not happy when they do, and I'll tell you, there's not a farmer that is not mad and a little bit embarrassed when that happens, and they want to get their animals back, and like you say too as well, when that call comes in, it's like, I'm going to get my animals, I'm getting them back, so like, I think that's the 100%, right, so.
Horses or.
Yeah.
It's always.
Oh, yeah,
no, because we probably have our neighbors' horses are in our yard every other month. They come through, pat them on the nose, and then they disappear back across the fence, and they're always gonna be happy. But they leave a trail of as they go across your yard. But we usually come by it. But anyway, just the good neighbors only goes so far. So I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And
So I was just going to say, Jeff said as well, it is a working document, so I mean, and Kristen started off by thanking everybody that made contributions, and I would also like to say thank you to staff for everything that they've done in this, because it's taken hours as well, but we appreciate it, and we appreciate the residents that have put their feedback in as well.
100%.
I just want to put a one resident reached share to me about one aspect of this, and just reading it and reviewing it. So they were worried about the accessing of properties, but it's accessing if there's a complaint made. So that's where that all goes. It's not that everybody's just gonna go and wander on your property. It's if there's a legitimate complaint and they feel that there's an absolute concern, that's where this would be enforced. It's not, but we don't have Montague bylaw by going house to house and checking up your property. So I just want to put that person's mind at ease. It's the way it's written is if there's a legitimate reason that they would need to enforce this rule, that we're not just going to everybody's house and visit them.
So, because I've had a couple of different farm people say the same thing to me, and I'm like, we're not, that's not the interest
No.
whatsoever. It's like it's if you're doing exactly like something that's.
People are very private, and it's not that they're doing anything wrong. They just really don't want random people wandering on the property, and I get that the little bit of privacy is great. But
Any of us want random people like my property right now, so.
so I understood the question,
Yeah.
and so I reviewed it, and I'm like, that's not how it's written.
So Chair, through you, just to kind of relieve everyone, we have very few farm complaints. We have one that I can think of that's a repeated issue.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like you've all said, we all live in the country and farm animals get out, we just call the neighbor and then come and get them, say sorry and clean up behind them and off they go. So, just that this is not, actually, we're removing
Yeah.
policy that used to be there and bylaws that used to be there and actually reducing on the farm livestock stuff. So I think from that perspective, just for everybody's ease, it's we're actually going the opposite way. They probably didn't even know that there was more restrictive bylaws.
We love our farmers and money.
Any other thoughts or questions? Okay, moved by Reed Jennings, seconded by Councillor Bass, that council receives staff's report regarding the feedback received on the proposed revisions to the Township Animal Control Bylaw 4004-2023 as amended by bylaw 4148-2025. And that council directs staff to bring the draft animal control bylaw as presented and discussed this date to the May 5th, 2026, for a meeting of council for approval. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, we have municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Bracken, drainage loan program.
Thank
Needle
you.
and Spring.
We'll stay on the farming sections here. So we have received a request from a resident to participate in the tile loan program through OMAFA, previously OMAFRA. So the municipality, there's a whole process for the Tile Drainage Act, and each municipality has the option to opt in or on top. Because there is an administrative perspective to it. So we have to have a borrowing bylaw that's valid and in place. Previously, we had them from 1973. We haven't had a child drain loan request since 91 that's gone through the municipality. The application approvals, so the individual will fill in an application from the provincial site. It will come to municipal council for review. Council can approve or deny the application. Inspections, so it needs to be inspected while being built and on site by our drainage super, Lucas Gibson. The loan administration for the project is done through us. So basically, council approves it, the work is done, it's signed off by licensed drainage people. They're actually licensed through OMAFA. And then we get payment from OMAFA, and then we collect and then remit those monies back from the ratepayer to OMAFA. So I don't think I need to explain to you guys what child drainage is. It's in the report. So if you choose to take part in the child loan program, again, this individual came forward, they want it done in the next couple of weeks, their child drain program. So we probably won't be able to meet the requirements for it anyways, but and they've already spoke to Farm Credit Canada and those other places. They were just wondering if we had it currently in place. So if council wants to move forward, we'll bring a new bylaw forward, send off to OMAFA and advise the landowner of the application process. Keeping in mind that the current rates are about 5 to 6%, or 6 to 7% with OMAFA right now. So a lot of farmers can get better rates. So I'm just looking for direction on council if you'd like to revisit this program, or just remain status quo.
All right, thoughts? This came up a few years ago. We had somebody else. I can't remember if it was on this term of council or last term of council. This came up once.
You
before,
did.
But then it kind of fell through to as well, right? So, like, I hate for, on my perspective, for staff to go through the exercise right now when if the applicant's probably not even going to go ahead and do it. Like, obviously, if and like the timing's not gonna work anyways, right? Like, I mean, we wouldn't get it done that quick anyways.
So he's gonna do the work. He wants to do the work in 2 weeks. We cannot administer this in 2 weeks.
So this is not, we can't even do this then.
Right,
Well, if he would like to put it off, and wait, or let's say maybe in 6 to 8 weeks, if we really pushed it through, we potentially could. But he's not even sure that this is the way he wants to go. Because as he indicated, he can get better borrowing rates as well. So, it's just, I think for us, it's just that do we go through this and actually get the bylaws in place? So then if people do come forward, we're already lined up. That's what I'm looking for council, is that if you're looking to get us, and we are part of the program, we previously were, I could locate 2 bylaws since 73, for loan programs, but, it's that we're ready and that it's not a hold up process in the future. It's something that you'd like to provide.
Is it a lot of work for you to get this set up? So that it is set up for the future? Like it is a deterrent at 6 to 7% when most people get a line of credit for less than that. So I don't really think that, like Jeff said, I don't think a lot of people are gonna necessarily go through with it this way. But like if it's something that's achievable, not too time consuming, and that we could have it, you know, on the shelf ready, it's not a terrible idea. Just to say it's there, but I do think there's other ways to do it, and I don't think he's gonna put off, because if he's wanting a tile drain for this year, he's going to put it in, because he's gonna wanna get his beans and or corn or whatever crop he's looking at getting in this year, and if he has to wait for us, he won't be doing that this year.
Chair, through you, so it's not the setup that's the time consuming, it's the actually administering, collecting the payments and then remitting them back, and if they don't collecting, it's that side of it that's the more administrative side, not the setting it up. So again, we've had very few in the past, so I wouldn't really take that into account as an administrative daunting task unless all of a sudden everyone comes in looking for one. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm on the, sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm on the sort of the notion of like, it's just not something to go down. You're not getting that, and I think someone dabbled into it to ask questions, but not necessarily, and then realizing that, okay, maybe it's not the right route, I'm gonna go a different route. So I think that's like, I don't, so we really want to sink into the time. If we had someone like a serious person doing it, some next year I want to tile drain by, then okay, then we'll go down the process and everything else. I think most of the time people might try to go down that route. So I'm more in the fence of just kind of like letting it be for now. I think this person will also maybe hopefully understand that feels well, because they're not gonna use that route anyways. And if it comes up again with more timeframes, we can bust it, but we're not getting, yeah.
So chair through you, so I can advise the person of that too, that if he's planning on doing future, that he lets us know maybe 6 months in advance, or the fall. To allow us the time to get the program in place and have that discussion. Again, in other municipalities where we had it, whenever it actually comes to borrowing, it could be closer to 9%. So a lot of farmers have other avenues.
Yeah, this is, to be quite honest, is an outdated way of borrowing money. Like, this is from way in the past, and there's way better vehicles to borrow money than this. So I would be in favor of not wasting staff time on something like this. It doesn't seem worthwhile. But
Farm credit is less.
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like it's.
Farm Credit Canada for what it used to be for the grains used to pay 0% until your crop comes off the field, and then you pay percentages based on that. And it was really low percentage, and it only started having to be paid back when you took it off the field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah, had to be in your granary.
yeah.
it's kind of like a co-op program.
Yeah.
Right, so it's yeah, so I thought, yeah,
Okay. So we all okay with option 2? Yes. Okay. Okay, moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Deputy Reid Carroll, that council for option 2 in relation to the tile drainage loan program through OMAFA as presented this date. All in favor? Gary? Thank you. All right, we go to municipal manager, treasurer, deputy clerk, Allison Barakin. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chair. So this is a discussion for council. Other municipalities have similar discussions in relation to council remuneration prior to the election. different municipalities go in different routes. Sometimes the outgoing council or the potential outgoing council likes to set or change any salary or pay for council to offset especially if there's a big change that's required, or if there's anything that they think should be included. You do not have to change anything, it's for discussion. So in the report, it does show that we did a pay review for staff and council in 2023, and at that time, the wages did change based on comparative sized municipalities. And for 24, 25, and 26, council has had a 2% increase each year, similar to staff. Some of the items that I think council needs to take into consideration or direct us to provide to the incoming council at some of the first meetings that they would have is, would they like to maintain an annual increase the same as employees, or set for you guys, do you want to set the next council's pay? Should there be benefits offered to council members, not limited to, but including OMERS pension plans? So we don't offer those things in Montague. Some municipalities do, some do not. County has OMERS. Now, keeping in mind that for benefits and OMERS, you have to be under the age of 65 to receive them. Otherwise, for benefits, you're on the Ontario plan, and for OMERS, anyway, discuss similar to what we did during that pay review. Should the chair of the committee of the whole receive additional salary? Because our procedural bylaw rotates through who the committee of the whole is. In other municipalities, Lanark Highlands, where I'm on council, the committee of the whole is always the deputy. Committees that require large commitments from council members, would you like to see per diems received for meetings and attendance? So some of the meetings, the police service board. So our council rep that sits on the police service board does receive a per diem. That's at the county now, but just that type of discussion. So we're really opening up for council discussion, but item one, if we can go item by item, just to make it clear, and because otherwise there's too many options that could be chosen to present to you. So if we start at item one, it is whether you'd like to choose or just remain status quo and advise us to bring it back. Basically during budget discussions, because normally our budget is to you guys in September, October. The 2027 budget cannot go to this council. It has to all be discussed with the new council. So that's after November 15th. So would you like to just remain status quo and push it to the next council?
I think it should remain status quo. And I would hope that the next council will also remain status quo, in that the cost of living is added. We don't want to become behind the scenes or behind in rates like other municipalities. Because then, for example, you get to a point where what you're getting as an honorarium, which is not a lot of money when you account for the time and effort that everybody is putting in, the meetings that are being attended, etc. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball and then have to do like an 8% or 11% increase like some of the other municipalities. Even we had to do in the past, not this term, but in the past, we also had an increase because it was found that you were behind. And as much as honorariums are the reason we run, it certainly can deter some people for running. So I personally think that we should remain status quo, continue on with COLA. And if the next term of council chooses to change that, that's fine, but getting behind it just doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So I don't want it
Okay,
for me.
your thoughts?
I agree actually with that, so yeah.
Okay,
I would be for either staying with the 2% and putting in that's what we want, or I would even, we were talking about last year, the cost of living, everything's gone up so much and tax rates are going up. Everybody's having a hard time. We're trying to find money for roads. We're finding like for 1 year to not take a raise for 1 year, see where all the chips lie, and then see where it goes from there. So I'm either one. I know we were talking about, Jeff, you were even the one that said, why don't we not take a raise? I'm all for not taking a raise or even suggesting it, because, you know, most people that are going to take this job or this position, they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it because they love their township. They're doing it because they want to be here. If I don't think any one of us said, hey, man, I'm getting rich by being a councillor of the township of Montague. So like I really am for saying, hey, let's set a 1 year 0%. But if council deems otherwise and they all think the 2% COLA is what they recommend, I will bow to you guys and say, hey, that's fair and
Is it always 2% or does it depend upon, is this sort of work along with the cost of living?
So
Like
that's,
sometimes can be like 1.5%. I'm just kind of curious here.
yeah, so I wanna just address that. So it's tied to what staff. And staff's pay is based on, I think it's September to September for the price index. So it's tied to staff. It's not just a guaranteed 2%. So over the last couple of years, some of the CPI has been more than 2%, but it's just, we haven't gone with the actual policy and it's been a reduced amount to 2%. So it's not a guaranteed 2%. And keeping in mind that no matter what you choose this evening, the next coming council can just vote against you and change it.
I'd like to stay as what we are and leave it at the 2% because I was on council at the time when you're talking about, and it was a big jump to get equal, like to get up to what we should have been, because back then we didn't get that, and it wasn't, and it's terrible if you have to go to the taxpayer and say, here, it's gonna cost you 8-10% to get caught up. So I myself personally like the little bit as you go along.
So I just need clarification, because there's talk about status quo and then there's talk about 2%. So are you guys looking at being 2% or staying status quo?
Status.
Yeah, I believe what you was, you just had a question about the 2%, but it's status quo, I think what he was saying.
Okay, just if he said then let's stay at 2%, but next year might not be. 2%.
Yeah,
That's right.
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So for myself, because the next council has full control over this, I could see we're just staying status quo and leave it to that. I am though also with Gerald on part of it that one, none of us are in this for the money, or we wouldn't be doing this for sure. But it's one of those things too, that if it can be changed so quickly in that, it would be a nice gesture, I believe, but I think as it comes to it, it would really, and it should be up to them and not us. So I'm okay with status quo, and everybody else wants to go along with that. Is that, we're good? Okay, so item,
Item 2. So I agree with you on item 1 in the sense that it's an easy one to change if they choose to. And again, we did a review and we'll continue to tie council's review with staff reviews that are every 5 years. So item 2 though is a little different. So there's a little more homework to be done there and a little more little more documents. So item 2, that if council is looking for us to even collect the information and provide it to the next council, we would kind of like to know that ahead of time, because it is a little more in depth. And with the benefits and or pension plan, if council chooses to have council members in the pension plan, everyone under the age of 65 has to partake. You can't individually decide not to partake in the plan. So that's the one that I'm asking, that if you think it would be of interest, that you give us kind of the ability to work on that through the summer months, to be able to provide that to the new incoming council. If you feel that as council members that it's not required, you've been on council, some of you for several terms, then that's great feedback too. Again, the next council can change it, but it would be nice to kind of know what the feel is around the current table.
Okay,
Me speak first again, we can go around.
whatever you need.
So when we talk costs, this is where our costs can come in, and I think if we're looking to save our residents increased costs, this is one that we should exclude. I know some people may not have benefits, but this isn't the option I think we should be looking at as a small municipality, and as Ali says, like Omer's, it's everybody that must go in, provided they're eligible to meet the requirements. And I mean, the way benefits go, they could be one rate now and next year a totally different rate, so that one, you know, is to me more costly. And I don't think it's the option to do, but that's my opinion.
So yeah, I think I'm on the same boat too as well. I don't think it's something we want to incur a cost into that too as well. I don't know if it's really an incentive based. I was actually surprised when I went to the county and they said, yeah, you sign this paper. Like, what am I signing a paper for an Omer's plan for? I don't understand. And I go, because you become part of that. I'm like, that's seems, I didn't really realize that was part of what was going on. So it was I don't really think it's wasn't a benefit or wasn't something that I was thinking that was, so yeah, so I don't really think it's something that's gonna be a big piece, and also that cost, I think is, to add that, it's not something that we should be doing, especially at this time, so.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's strictly the cost. I don't think that it should be repairs that occur at this cost for the members of council, but it's just my opinion.
I don't think there'd be enough there to benefit anybody anyways. And since I'm over 65, I don't have to worry about this.
Comfort bid.
But I will make, I will make
Cost, I don't think it's worth doing for that. And we should put that kind of cost onto the rate, so. Yeah, unanimous or no on item number 2? So, right, Ms. Reagan.
Thank you. So item 3. You can discuss, I feel like maybe it's tied to item 1, you're just gonna say status quo here, but so item 3 is having that discussion about the cow chair, because you do rotate through based on alphabetical order, and there is more workload, more public pressure when you're the chair and so whether you'd like to maintain status quo just the way it is, have a stipend be paid to the person who is the chair, reduce and make Debbie Reed through counselor all the same pay, and the chair that year receives kind of that difference of the $2,800 that the deputy receives as the chair, or split that amount equally between Debbie Reed and counselors, so that they're all paid the same, so it doesn't matter who's chairing that year. Or remain status quo, and add an additional stipend for the committee of the whole chair that year. So, there is a number of options presented, for council consideration, and again, you can maintain status quo. We'll bring back the same report to the council, when the time comes anyhow, but.
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
waiting for him to look
No, I
up.
was just a little bit in thought there on that, because they were very, I appreciate all the options. Good.
So little did I know that we would open a can of worms when I had suggested this at the start of the term. It was something I know was put into place when Jeff and I were counselors, and then COVID sort of put it out of the way that we didn't get to do it. It was an opportunity to allow every person time to have the ability to chair, not thinking that there was going to be all of this that came into place. Moving forward, the next reeve, whether that be me or whoever runs and is elected, may take the stance that they will chair all of it, which is what was also done in the past. Or the council that is here could choose to say, do where reeve does council, deputy does cow, or it may collectively say, yeah, let's do it. So and have a discussion at that point in time. So my preference, it sounds like it's a cop-out, but it's not. My preference is to have the people that are here make the decision as to how they wish for it to be moved forward. So I would remain status quo until the new people are in place during the election.
Chair through you, so just so, and the reason why we're asking this is because candidate packages are prepared and ready, and so we want to make sure that
Yes.
people who are running for councilor realize that they will be chairing, because it's in the procedural bylaw that you're rotating through. So you're not just running for council, you will be chairing the committee of the whole once, 1 year out of your 4-year term. So that's why we're really asking if that procedural bylaw is gonna stay the same. Just so they know what they're getting into. Yes, they have the option to not chair. But current procedural bylaw is that everyone would take.
So question then on that, so because we put that in place, then we in turn should go and change the,
Correct.
okay,
That's
so.
why we're bringing this.
So we would have to go back and amend the procedural bylaw that says at the end of our term. It goes back to where the Reeve is the one that is doing the 2 meetings until such, like, because.
So you, and again, share through you. So effectively, it's no different than any of the other decisions. So I think that if you're gonna remain status quo, you remain status quo, and let the new council determine whether that's going to change. Because they can change that procedural bylaw as well. They can say, no, we want the Reeve to change, or to chair them all, or the deputy Reeve. I think most municipalities is the deputy Reeve. So they can make that call. You guys decided to make this call, you can let the next council come on and make the next call. Because otherwise, we're kind of, I think Kirsten's gonna be upset because her packages are ready.
I can pivot. Just to clarify, because that's just it, it's like, so on the first meeting of the next council. It would be. The Reeve doing council and then
Deputy Reeve first.
Alphabetical order.
alphabetical order is how
Yes,
technically it
because
was supposed to be.
Jim
'Cause I
chose
didn't
not
do it the
to,
last time.
so
Which is
Jack
why I
did
didn't
that
know the
enter
Jack.
next year. So that is how
I
they're
thought
gonna
it was, I
start.
thought it was Deputy Reeve fit first.
No,
But
no.
got voted in and then
No.
council. I know.
So if during
Learn-
that election, and again, when it happens, if the first alphabet person says no. Then it would just go to the next person
That's right.
until they had the ability to make that
If
change
they choose.
of their procedural bylaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just want people running to know.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Or council can change it to something else. The new council can change it once
Correct.
they're in for a week or two. Okay.
Correct.
Well, no, you can't change the procedural bylaw that fast, but
No,
yes,
but
they
you
can.
can within
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, I remember, like, I remember in the first break, the whole person that was to say. How do we get people to have experience to do it? That was the spirit of that too as well. I remember because I think I got to do it one meeting.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit and then we went online and then the Reeve at the time took over both meetings that night was online. So like it was but really it was one of those opportunities to get to experience and to get the experience of doing that, to see like, and it gave everybody that chance to, that was the spirit behind
Yeah.
the original idea, like when we discussed it, and then I think that's when you brought it into as well, right? Same idea was that is to give that opportunity, that experience, to do it. So I'm game for status quo as once again too as well. And to continue on to see what the next council says too as well, so.
Sure. Oh, that's very sure. I'm just gonna ask.
You know, again, I keep going back to the ratepayers and trying to save where we can. So item 1 gives the Reeve the 27 and us that we are the 16.7, and we all get that opportunity and we save $2,800. To me, that makes sense. Otherwise, if everybody's against that one, I also don't mind too, if people find there's a lot of work in doing Cal and they want this to bend that way. But I'm again, it's it's $2,800. $2,800 for a lot of people, a lot, like we're talking about doing roads and road grading. That's $3,000 towards road grading. That's a lot of extra hours that could be done and utilized to save $3,000. That's my.
All right, Jim?
Well. Kind of blew me out of the water when you started. I was trying to, my question was. Between councillors and Deputy Reeve, I know what the Reeve does. It's all down here. So when we started this, is it the Reeve that essentially did both? The committee of the whole and that, or was that in our bylaw that the Deputy Reeve did committee of the whole?
So through the previous council changed. So it was changed prior to COVID and it remained the same through, but I think during COVID, it was just. Like almost like a friendly amendment that.
But originally, was it the Reeve that did both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to find out just is what is the Deputy Reeve do different than counselors, except if you, in your case, Reed, Karen was sick or away for 2 or 3 months. I just don't, myself, over being on 3 councils, I just don't see the real difference in the deputy. Now, there's something maybe I'm missing, and if there is, I'd like to just know what is, as far as going with Gerald just said there about.
Well, they go
Yeah, we get
Lanark,
paid the
so
same.
that's, but they also get the pay from Lanark for that portion. They get paid for that portion.
I'm just trying to ask.
So that's the big point is, because they were voted on by the community, they go to Lanark on behalf of the community and get paid for that portion by the community through Lanark. Am I understand that correctly?
But so does the REIT. The
Yeah,
REIT gets a pay from the.
yes, yeah, no, but he was asking about one position, yours, and
No, it was a read, every read, but all, I'm just was asking, as far as our township goes. It doesn't matter what deputy read we have, I'm just saying, I don't see a lot of difference. Of the deputy read position compared to just the counselor's position. I realize then they go to Lanark, whoever's on there. I just don't see a deputy read putting in that many more hours to. But maybe I'm just missing something, that's all.
I
That's just
think
me.
it's just a historic thing, where with municipalities, when they have. A reaver mayor and then a deputy, that it's always just had that status of. Which, because if the mayor or reeve is not available, then the deputy is the one that steps in to fill in. So. In all the years of my municipal experience it was just something that was there.
But
There are
you-
some municipalities that don't even have a deputy, but
there's a
they
few
get
options.
them. But any that have had them, it's just always been historic on the position and on the difference in the salary.
But I don't see the difference.
Don't know, I can't answer it. It's just always been historic.
Question,
Gerald, sorry. Go through.
sorry. In the case that Karen's unavailable, can any one of us sign checks to fulfill the need, to help out?
So chair through you, so yeah, so it's up to council to pass that bylaw, that any council, I worked in municipalities where all of council had signing authority with a staff person. So it's not council signing checks without us.
Please?
Yeah, so we've had that in the past because the deputy, I'll use Renfrew County as an example, because they only have one sitting member from every municipality, because there's 16 of them. So the deputy was a rotating position, so all of the members had signing authority. So yeah, it's something that can be done, it's a bylaw that has to be passed. So, like currently, no. you do
Yeah,
not.
no.
These two.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just saying to simplify things and make things easier. Like, it might be easier. Especially if we're all looking at talking about getting paid the same so that. We're not making the deputy reeve do more than anybody else here. Like Lanark is different because he goes to Lanark. Or they go to Lanark, but yeah. I just, like Jim said, in the municipality, deputy reeve. Doesn't do much more here, but he does a lot more at Lanark, and that's why that justification of that pay is there.
My only, so I counted that too as well, is that there's a signing authority, there's all that kind of stuff, I think there's all pieces there when the reeve steps out. So if the reeve steps out, is there a point there like that there's a pay equity thing for that then? Do we not worry about that?
So why don't we keep the $2,800 in a pool, then if that ever happens, that you get that.
Yeah, so like, and I'm not looking, once again, I'm not looking for the dollar thing, and I think the other side of it too as well is like. When you went out and you did like the pay equity thing, like, they never came back and said, yeah, like these should be all even and then this one should be there, like they came back saying. This is what they're at, I would think too as well, but once again, like it's like it's indifferent too as well as far as the cost goes, just more of and I think what the Reed said. It's sort of like the costing of those positions too as well, and just kind of understanding what that difference is too as well, but I mean.
I have nothing wrong with paying $2,000 or $3,000 more if I can see where the dollar's going. But I don't
Questions.
I think that
Sure, 1 second, Mr. Reagan.
Right,
Yeah.
just so I can answer and not get behind
Okay.
my 5 questions. So, I think Jeff asked, how would the deputy reeve be paid if the reeve was away? So again, I'm gonna use Brantford County, is that whoever the chair was, that the committee of the whole chair, they would be in the acting placement, so the procedural bylaw would be adjusted accordingly, just so the deputy reeve would be the county rep. And I'll use even Whitewater Region, the mayor at Whitewater Region doesn't sit at county, the reeve does, so everyone does it differently. And during, the second one was during pay equity. So pay equity, though, we didn't ask what their reeve did. So Lanark Highlands, our reeve does all the committee of the whole meetings, so our deputy reeve is paid more. Our previous deputy reeve, though, chose to actually just get paid the same as a counselor. So it depends, like, so if, and again, you can direct us out of that from item 3.2 is to actually ask, what do the deputy reeves do in the other municipalities? Because everyone's different. Everyone is different on what that expectation is and what they do. So I'm just using Lanark Highlands as an example, is that our deputy reeve does every committee of the whole. There's no switching through. I understand you guys changed it to give everybody experience, so that's a totally different discussion.
Any other thoughts?
I just see a rotating one. Rotating chair is one thing for committee of whole, which. Now, maybe, should I have done it? Maybe not, because I wasn't trying to open a can of worms. I thought it was a good idea. When it comes to rotating then as to who. You know, like with finance, it's like anybody can sign. I don't know in my situation if this, my accounting background, if I would have been comfortable with that. I know some places may do it, but I think of organizations where you have definitely 2 positions and then you have your backup 2 positions, because if you start getting alternate, then to me that becomes a concern. But I don't know, I thought we went through with reference to the pay on the position, and that we ended up saying it was going to stay status quo because the residents definitely still wanted the position. So if they want the position, we're back then to having a discussion about, should we be paying different? That wasn't put out to say, maybe do we need to pay people? Maybe even the reeve's position needs to be evaluated, because technically it's the reeve who's stepping away from duties, no longer chairing both meetings. So if you're going to address a pay, maybe it should be the reeve's pay that's being addressed. So, or else we look at all positions of reeve, deputy and counselor and say, how do we make all of it work based off of what is required of all of our positions?
But there are currently deputy reeves, deputy mayors that are getting paid the same as counselors in other municipalities.
But I'm looking at us saying, if we're looking at.
I'm just talking about saving $3,000 for our municipality.
But again, maybe then the reeve's position should be part of it too, going, because I'm the one that definitely then stepped away from a job. Or part of my job. And saying that if you want to look at something, we look at all 3 levels. And how to make that work. Because it's not the deputy reeve who stepped away from doing this chair, it was my position.
But in other municipalities, Ali said that they've done that for decades. So did you really step away from anything?
Here I did. So if we're looking at adjusting pays here, then I think we need to include.
Or we go back to what I said and don't pay for cap. Which is what I'm suggesting. Which is not taking anything from anybody,
So
it's saying, let's give the ratepayers a $3,000 savings.
So we weren't paying for cow as it sits currently. I shared cow on a rotating basis. I kept my salary. The deputy kept his salary and you had your salary. So if I stepped away from the duties, then if you want to adjust salaries, then the top position maybe needs to be included into it as well. That's what I'm saying.
I just want to know what the difference is between I know what the Reeve does and everything there, and it's a lot of responsibility. I do know what the way or something, and the deputy Reeve signs the check if we ask it. Doesn't happen very often. What duties does the deputy Reeve in our township do more than 3 counselors? For here, not Lanark, I'm just
It's
referring to here, I'm just
yeah.
trying to.
But this
it's a-
all came
you
up
know,
because of Cal.
Yeah.
Because I brought forward a suggestion. So if we want to look at something, then I think we need to look at all 3 positions and the salaries. And again, it's like,
So you want to revise all 3 salaries?
well, I'm the one that stepped away from the job. If that's how we want to look at it. I stepped away from doing something that I thought was going to be beneficial for everybody.
And it is.
So therefore, do we change because I stepped away from that? I'm saying we let the next council, because again, I thought that they could come in and they could change it.
At that time.
The next Reeve could come in, but the Reeve would have to have everybody in agreement to say, change the procedural bylaw again. Because of the fact that I thought I was doing something of benefit by doing it.
Okay, myself, this is exceedingly convoluted. I think we are talking about making material change to a salary structure and a way of doing business that is far too late in our mandate right now to be doing that. We only have a few months left. I think for us to make this kind of material change really should be put onto the new council. How do they want to run that? How does the deputy Reeve want to run that? I just think that this could be a lot of turmoil that we're setting the new council up for. So for myself, I just think it's too late in my tenure to make a material change the way that I see it. It's because now all of a sudden, the Reeve is talking about, well, maybe it should be my money, and it's now we're going around and we're taking money out of all kinds of different envelopes. And I think it's just too late for that. It's, but I would love to have, if I was to be on the next council, you have and I'm not campaigning, no one said that. I'm just saying that a fulsome discussion on this would be excellent. And how should we move forward with that? How should we do this? How does Deputy Reeve do this? How does the Reeve do that? Does the Reeve do all of the cows? Do we pay a stipend for that? I'd love to have an excellent conversation about that. But with the forward view of, we're gonna be doing this for 3 to 4 years. Not, we're changing something for people that it might be, none of us might be here. So I'm just concerned with that. That's the way that I look at that. Alvin?
Yeah, chair through you. So I think for us, that was clear cut for everyone. So I think for us, is that we need direction on if you want to revert it back to what it was, because it kind of sounds like you're not unanimously saying that the way it currently works is fair. So do you want to revert it back? Or maintain, that's, I think, why it came forward, is that if you feel that currently the way it works is fair, we'll leave it for the next council to, but if you, who were kind of the first ones, because of COVID, the first ones to really have the full 4 years of this cycle of taking turns as the chair, if you don't think it's fair, should we then be looking at reverting that? That's more, I think, where we're coming. You were kind of the test samples. Clearly, there's discussion here. So should we be reverting back to let the next council, because the mayor can't unanimously just make this decision in the new council.
Right, yeah, or she would have to have council.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying, like either you revert back and then let the new council decide whether this is going to be like how things move forward. Or you leave it the way it is.
So just to be clear, reverting back is the Reeve would do the chair of the council meeting and of the committee of the whole. Okay,
Or you leave it as is and further like direct us to bring this wholesome discussion back to the next council. So I think as far as trying to choose which direction, from what I'm hearing is it's gonna be much more substantial investigations and what other deputy Reeves do and what other Reeves do and what other counselors do. So, my recommendation to you would either be just leave it as is and let the next council decide whether they feel it's fair that they're switching and the amount that they're getting paid, or revert it back to the way it was.
for myself, I would leave it the way it is.
So if we can get a
That's-
decision on those two things, because I was
That's
like,
not
okay.
I'll go around this too again.
Just to kind of limit it, just because,
Yeah.
sorry, I just feel like we're kind
Oh,
of.
yeah. But see, that's the problem is we will get into in-depth discussion on this, which is more than what I think everyone anticipates.
I'll bring it back to the next.
If that's enough, sort of.
Karen?
Because if we leave it status quo, it means that the incoming council receive the wages that we show. You bring the new council in, and then that council tries to change it, it's going to could possibly impact the budget.
Absolutely. Because you're not even looking at it. Even if that's
That's it.
ready to go,
That's
you
right.
as a council are not the ones that are gonna look at that.
So I'm going to be and say, revert it back where the Reeve does both meetings to save any discussion on what's fair or not. So
I don't know, sorry, I don't understand how there's a financial implication if we leave it the way it is now. Even if we think it's fair or not fair, because none of us are getting paid to be cow chair.
No.
So, well, you are, but
I
you
know.
already get,
I know,
there's 4 months left.
Yeah.
I know.
It's,
Yeah.
I don't see why we worry about
Just,
this.
this is not gonna change the current council's pay. We're talking the next
In that
council.
sense, yeah, okay,
What, the next council has the
It's
ability to
okay.
change and reverse everything that you would decide. The biggest thing is that sometimes it's easier for people who have been in the position and maybe felt like something wasn't fair or didn't work appropriately, that you make the decision for the next one, so you're setting them up for success and not to start internal. You guys have been great. You guys have had no issues. It's been a great team. We've got a lot done. But if you're setting the next one up that doesn't feel like that's fair, that they're taking on a workload and not having the pay, then that may have a different taste in everyone's mouth right off the bat.
so then the way to go about this is we revert back to the way it was before Karen came up with this great idea and caused all this internal strife. Is that what we're saying?
You can maintain status quo, because again, no matter what you choose, the next council can change
Yeah.
it.
But I don't want the next council to step straight into, oh, well, we have this problem and that problem. They can start off just like every other council did for years. Is that sort of what we're talking about?
Yes.
Then you have to decide. What you mean.
Okay, so let's go around the horseshoe one more time here.
So because you're basically saying, go back to the Reeve, does both meetings, keep it status quo and the rest of everything else. And then. And that first meeting, the Reeve could say, hey, I have a proposal. You want to have that discussion, if that Reeve decides to have that discussion too as well. And go with that,
It
so,
won't be the Reeves discussion, because we don't have strong names. It's gonna be as the staff bring it forward and council discussion.
Okay,
that's fair.
It's
yeah.
not up to the Reeve.
so one additional question then is, so we could say revert back to. Does that mean Trevor automatically has to give up the seat?
No.
Okay,
It's just they put a date on it of when it's.
revert back then, please,
okay,
is my suggestion.
all right.
I think so too. I was gonna say one caveat too as well is that, like, because Gerald of the county too as well, and the county's I'll use that example as the committee of the whole up there, like. There's the 4 committees up there, and you put your hand up to say, I want to do one of those committees. And there's no extra in that aspect too as well, and there's a lot of work with those, like you go through the approval of the agenda before it's posted. You have say of talking about what's going on in the agenda. And you have, like, there's a more of a discussion point with the agenda building. A little bit with the county too as well, so there's a big piece, and there's no, it's you deciding to do it because you want to do that, and it's part of your experience. And it's part of your drive to want to do it too as well, but on the same token, I was gonna throw that in there. But I think that's maybe the way to go, is to go back to that and
Okay, Gerald.
I would say status quo.
Let's go. So the way it is right now.
I would say for now, let the other new council, if they decide they want to do something different. Bring it for staff and let staff have a meeting. But all we can do, okay, Jim's saying now it's 3 or 4 months.
Okay, yeah, let's just leave it the way it is then. I'm okay. It's all gonna get changed anyway. so.
Okay. Thank you for that. Great discussion, guys. That's the first time you've been split like that. Item 4, So, I feel like you're probably gonna say remain status quo, let the new council look at if certain, because we definitely do have certain committees that take substantially more time than other committees. So are we looking at just you're talking about cutting pay in different areas, so I'm assuming this is just gonna remain status quo.
So, so my thought would be that maybe the next council might have a taste to have an annual appointment to committees, so that when one committee takes more time than others, it's a rotational by the other members. So, for example, the recreation committee, and if it's taking more time, then those are a 1-year term, or like 1-year commitment, and then other members of council then get appointed the next year, so that additional workload is shared evenly. That would be a suggestion that I think should be thought of for the next council. I mean, we're good to come out and attend as many events, functions in the community. And I think it's important that anybody is running for council, because we don't do it for the salary, that they also realize that when events are happening in our municipality, that some of the members of the committee that are volunteer members, the expectation is that we are there to support them as well and help out. So any of the council that choose to run in the next election, that sort of would also be an expectation that they be available. It's not like we can always make everything, because we have lives as well, but I think it's important that people recognize that there is a little bit of a community support that is unofficially expected. And as I say, because there are certain committees of council that are definitely taking a lot more time than some of the others, that it maybe is a 1-year appointment, and that way then it gets rotated through.
So, Chair, through you, personalize that in your package, to notify people that it is kind of an expectation that's been set, that you are going to be in attendance at some of these things and volunteering. So that public for front facing community member. Okay, so I think that's probably a good note to, even if it doesn't change on an annual basis, that's being reviewed, and that's not a 4-year appointment that you're locking in. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a neat suggestion, and they bring it back as like the rec committee too as well. Like, I mean, I think that's one, it does take a lot of time. I remember I was doing it in the first part of it too as well, and I mean, admirable job, obviously that our two individuals have done. I was, chomping the bit to be back on it too as well, and admirable job. And I think it would be neat to help maybe alleviate some of that through the term too as well. I think that's a great suggestion to open those opportunities or those things up to as well, and to do that. So I think that's a good suggestion. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So again, I'm gonna be devil's advocate, because that's what I've been doing. We do these and we join these groups, and it's again the benefit of the community. Yes, I say rec council probably takes up a lot of time, and sometimes a lot more time than you'd like, but I thoroughly enjoy what it does for the community, and everything from decorating my trailer for Christmas parade, all the prep work that it takes to get that done, with the old man, everything from chili cook-offs to all that. But I don't feel, and this is me being devil's advocate, that there should be pay or pay equity for any of these things. This is something we do to be part of the community. We are choosing to take this role on. If that's not something that appeals to you, don't. It's really, some weeks are easier than others. Some weeks are longer than others. We go to roads meetings and hang out with a whole bunch of lovely people, and some of them are happy to see us, some of them aren't. We do this to be part of something much bigger than just to be part of this council. So whether they rotate through or not, that's a choice, and I don't mind if that's the way that the council decides to go that way. But as far as pay equity, we chose this. And you know, if you're choosing to run or be part of this, I think that's an expectation. That's part of what you're gonna do. So that's my opinion.
Okay. Sure.
No, I'm good here. One thing I wanna say is I've enjoyed this council immensely. There's been no. Some places you watch some of the councils, there's no backstabbing here. Everybody talks openly. You know, just like I was asking for description, I just didn't know, and nobody gets upset with you. That's the only way you learn to move on, but this has been a great council from day one.
No, I definitely agree with that. The excellent council. It's been
And staff.
fun to be involved. Yeah, staff is incredible, to be quite honest. Yeah, I would not be in favor of any sort of per diems or anything like that. I like going to this stuff. I think it's fun. I didn't become a counselor for the money anyway. It's more of a pain in the ass, to be honest with you, but it's one of those things where it's just a great group of people. I know some other councils have been a little bit on the rocky side, now the municipalities, but they are fun to watch on YouTube. But it's one of those things, this is grassroots politics. And we don't do it for the money or anything like that. We do it because you like to do things for your neighbors. You like to do stuff like that. And it's small town. And I like it like that. I don't think we should benefit monetarily from that. And I think this council's been great for that because we all show up to everything, and whether I was burning sausages or not, it was not my fault. Yeah, and you know, may have dropped a couple of boxes of hot dogs also. But I'm not in favor of any sort of return on investment, we'll say, for that kind of stuff. So I'm good with it just stays the way it is. So not sure how we would word that. Everyone seems to be that way at a school. That's cool.
Status quo, we're on a consensus to look at a rotational, at least discussion, or an annual discussion about whether people are happy staying on their committees or rotating.
Okay, so I'll say status quo 1-year terms with a question mark.
I like the annual discussion is a really good point, just to say like, hey, listen, like, if you want to step, if you want to do something else, it opens it up so you don't feel obligated saying like 2 years in saying it's like, I wish I someone else did this or now, we could just have that discussion just the way that it should be. So I think that's a neat idea. And people can stay on, people say the same thing, it stays the same, it's like perfect. If not, it's just at least it makes it a non-confrontational, like an easier way to have that conversation, which I think is nice too as well. So
I think too that, like Karen's idea of rotating the cow chair. For me, that's a great educational thing. And it's the same thing too. If you rotate around a little bit with, well, you're on this committee or on that committee next year, you just learn more about everything in the township. So I'm always good with that. Sorry, Howard.
Nope, that's great. I think that the annual at least discussion, because things change in people's lives and maybe the normal meeting nights no longer work for whatever reason, and you need to swap a committee with somebody. So I think just even that annual check-in is a good step forward.
I mean, on the positive side of it is that the MRCC is our busiest because we've got so much going on in our community, which is great. So, but it is one of the heavier ones for having to have meetings.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of planning and a lot of work that has to be done before the activity, during the activity, and after the activity.
No, that's right. And it's really Gerald and Jim do a hell of a job with that committee, but it is a big time commitment.
Mhm.
And if it was something where you have that check-in, as Ali worded it, and well, Jim has this going on now, so okay, well then step away, one of us come in, Gerald has something else going on a different night, then we can all partake in it and take some of the load off too. So I think that's a great idea. We're all okay with that? Yes, okay. All right. Any further discussion about anything else, Howard, that you want to bring up, an option 5 or something? New titles for everyone around the. Okay, moved by Councillor Bass, seconded by Reeve Jennings, that council provide direction to staff to each item presented to the council rumination. Item 1, status quo. Item 2, no. Item 3, status quo. Item 4, status quo with the caveat of 1-year terms. Have a look at that. Okay. And then council direct staff to inform any potential candidates of any proposed changes that might take place prior to the end of the nomination period. All in favor? Carried. Thank you all very much. That was an awesome discussion. And, okay. Reports of committees. We have none. Petitions. Also none. Motions and notice of motions? None, again, okay. Unfinished business, other business? We have none again. Oh, cow. Before I adjourn, I'd like to ask first, Tom, do you have any, questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Under draft bylaw on animal control, under 6.2, I would think that you may want to add a couple more points like F and G on it. From 6.8, if a person has a dog that's deemed a prohibited dog or dangerous dog, you ask the person that has the dog, do they have proof of insurance? Well, I'm just wondering in the township, because you're issuing dog tags to people, should you not ask any person that has a dog, should they not tell when they apply for their tag that they have insurance for their dog? Because you're saying, oh, here's a tag for your dog. Well, what happens if they bite the kind person that lives next door, or the little child that lives next door? Shouldn't you even ask to, like, is the township is issuing a dog tag, so you're acknowledging that they have a dog? Is there a liability that you should be asking that person, have you got insurance? Not necessarily proof, but asking them, do you have insurance if that dog bites the child next door?
Who has?
Right.
Sure.
Me, okay, so I think it brings up a good point. I believe that Sherry brought this up previously, that we need to create a document that they're signing whenever they get a license, basically acknowledging, yes, I have this, this, and this. So whether they have it or not, they've signed a document saying that they do have it. And we've had this discussion before, so I think that along with the licensing, it's really like a 1-page saying, these are and that they're acknowledging that they know what the bylaw is, no different than the fire permitting. We've had this discussion. And that would need to be implemented in the process, and that would address that concern, as well as that they are signing off, just like our fire permits, whether they've read it or not, they're acknowledging what our bylaw is. Good point, Tom.
Okay, like, and the other part of it was, I was thinking, like, when they ask for the permit and they're asked, have you read the bylaw? They should specifically ask them, has your dog been deemed a prohibited or dangerous dog in any other municipality? Like, I know it's in there under section 6.8, but I'm just wondering if you should point blank ask them that question, not just say, oh, have you read the rest of it? Ask them that question out and out. Right when you get the when they give them the issue of the tag, the dog tag.
Okay.
So again, that would be an acknowledgement that they're indicating that their dog, they would acknowledge that their dog has not been deemed that in another municipality.
So it'd be something that should we get the person to sign where they would acknowledge that, yes, they have insurance, and no, the dog hasn't. There'd be a
Correct.
document like that, so when
Yes. Just
I
like
pick
a
up my
fire
dog
permit.
tag every year, I would sign that every year and say everything's still good.
And the other part of that's where you're removing the large animals if there's a problem to call the OPP. What's the difference in the cost? Because I know your OPP rate comes out on how many times they've been called a year. How much is that going to put the increase of the OPP cost up to what it would be to have animal control look after the large animals if there's a problem?
Are you talking about livestock?
Yeah, on livestock.
Okay, so.
Go ahead.
So that's a standard, that's trespassing, that is an OPP issue. It shouldn't be us dealing with the livestock stuff. This is one of very few municipalities that actually have their own bylaw. It's trespassing. So it should be the OPP. And especially because a lot of the time they're on road allowances and everything else. So it shouldn't affect our our policing costs at all. It's kind of in that standard level of service as far as some of those things.
Okay, I
Yeah.
just wondered if it was, like, I thought your OPP was every time they got a call, they log how many calls you've had for the township, and that affects your rate. I wondered if that affected the rate, but,
Not so much.
okay,
No.
okay, thank you.
No, that's good. That's a good point, because that's the first thing that I thought of when you said that. We gonna get charged $50 every time somebody calls, because I'm gonna call on Jeff every time his cow. leaves
But
his
you know,
yard.
constant-
And trying to find the person, the livestock person that can, like, we had one in the past, but they don't have one now, like, that'll go pick up the animals, so like,
Yeah.
there's nobody to pick up that animal right now either, right? So I'd say,
Yes,
A
company on
livestock
call.
place that they don't take something, if we had something, if if we don't have anything all year, we paid them $5,000 a year just as a standby.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it becomes a whole further discussion that would actually be more than if. We had so many calls that have bumped our average calls above the average and
What could the OPP do if the animal's out on the road and they don't know who owns it? What do they do with it? Does that not
they knock
come
on,
back into your cost?
so it depends on the situation on how they deal with the animal.
they knock on doors, they make phone calls. I got a phone, I remember years ago, I was in the sugar bush and I got a phone call saying, there's cows there, do you have any idea who they might belong to? And like, I helped sort of narrow it down on whose cows they were mine, but they, like, narrow down on whose cows they were. I'm like, cause it was weird, I've seen the sugar bush and I'm like, the OPP's calling me. Oh crap, and it was like, do you know where, like, we're trying to figure out where these cows go, and we just figured that you might have an idea of where they might be, and I'm like, oh. And anyways, so it's interesting how they try to figure, they figure it out, so.
Us as well, so we've had this situation out, 43. And we knew whose farm was out that way and we had their contact information, so we called them to advise them that the OPP were looking for them because they're in. So if during business hours, we do try to assist with.
Is that everything?
That's it, thank you.
Anything else for the rest of the crowd? Sure.
Other than, thank you for taking another crack at this and working it. Certainly some of the loopholes have been tightened up and, clarifications. More, rather than leaving it to speculation, having concrete definitions, so lots of definitions, and I applaud the work of all staff, and of course the council, for working on this. It's gonna be great, so thank you.
Thank you.
No, I just, in the years of absenteeism when I was on that side of the fence, I haven't been having the pleasure of enjoying the mixed mash and train of thought and the idea of trying to develop better ways of doing business, moving the county or the township forward, and I certainly appreciate all the members of council and I know the efforts that it's taken to participate in the program that you're in. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone online?
None.
All right. Moved by Deputy Carroll, seconded by Councilor Crabtree, the committee of the whole meeting for April 21st, 2026, now be adjourned at 8:08 PM. All in favor? Carried. Thank you all very much.